frog just jumped on my pillow. I'm selling the camper.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we are going to take a scenic boat tour today. I'm sorry, Winter Park, Florida. And so far this place has been gorgeous. So we will take you along for the ride. I believe this is going to be our boat.
But anyway, thank you so much for doing this. By the way, if you like the trip, I'm Tom. If you don't like it, I'm Walter or Ron. Anyway, we're going to be on 3 different lakes. This one's called Lake Osceola. It's named after the famous Seminole Indian leader. We do have, I mean, amongst other things, we have 3 very unique museums. And by far the most famous is the Morse Museum. That one is right up on North Park Avenue. It's the largest comprehensive collection of Tiffany glass in the world. So I a strong suggestion there. The other 2 museums are on the water, so we're actually going by them. So we'll just chat about them when you see them. Lived here for 80 years. So the Capon House, Casa Feliz was what the other one is, but was built in 1885, and one of the older homes in town. The guys that built this house bought it, didn't want it. And a lot of the locals didn't want it torn down. So they raised the money to move it to a museum that sits on the other side of this lake. And they wanted to use interlock in the movement, but they couldn't because of all the trees on this road. So what they did is they cut the house in half with chainsaws, built a barge, and floated it over there in 2 separate pieces. And then they spent 2 years putting it back together. So, could have built several homes for what they spent. Actually, the little guest house it was part of the Capon House, so they didn't move that. 3 doors to the right of it, that really big Mediterranean. The house that was there today is right across the street from it. It's on we have the second oldest golf course in the state, little 9-hole right in the middle of town, and that's where they put it. It's called that one is Casa Feliz, built 1932, but to build a new one, you gotta buy an old one and tear it down. And this new construction, like concrete in front of us, has really got a lot of press. The house that used to be there was big and historic. These guys had no interest in it. They just wanted a really big lot. And this is why it's getting so much press, is when that house is finished, it's gonna be the largest house in Winter Park, and actually one of Florida's biggest. So when that's done, it's gonna be 41,000 square feet. I know, 42 would have been showing off a little too much. I mentioned we're going to be on 3 different lakes, so we do use canals to go from one to the other, and these lakes are natural, but the canals that join them were originally just little streams. And in the 1870s, they started to cut down the pine trees around the lakes, and the lumberjacks that cut them down also hand dug the canals, and did that to float the trees to a sawmill. The sawmill used to be on Lake Virginia where Rollins sits. So we usually go there first. Today's going to be at the end, so we'll see that. But and this is the Venetian Canal. It's by far the longest. It kind of looks like the lumberjacks that dug it. You know, had a few cocktails before they did it. It doesn't go straight. the oldest house back here. So that one with the black shutters is 103 years old. And, you know, the town was really sparsely populated, but had a lot of orange groves. And the largest one on these chain, or on the whole chain of lakes back then, was the one that used to be right here with this house. And because orange groves kind of popped up in this county, but they weren't originally in this county. This county was more free-range cattle originally. But so this was not originally called Orange County. Before the orange groves were here, this is some terrible marketing, but this county was originally Mosquito County before it became Orange. It's true. And the newest house on this lake, they're building some newer ones that will be finished soon, but it's right in front of us with all the glass. That is 4.5 months old. They spent millions on glass to create a great view of the lake, and they didn't want it blocked by a boathouse in the water. And this is the other one that doesn't have a boathouse in the water. So what they did is they built a boat garage next to the house at a view of the lake and with a track. So the tracks. The house to the right has changed over the years. The original house is just the left side of that, which was 100 years old and modeled after a house in Venice. It looked really Venetian until the 70s because the walls went straight down to the lake. They didn't have a little lawn there. And 7 years ago, they put the right side on. Five years ago, they bought their next door neighbor's house over there and tore it down to build their pool house. And the original house, the left side of this, was made somewhat famous when, at least locally, when Tom Hanks used it to represent an astronaut's home in a movie. I made it for HBO. It's called From the Earth to the Moon. Little canal to the right looks like it goes to a different lake, but does not. So that's also Lake Maitland over there. What you see to the left of the canal is an island. And it would be a peninsula had they not put the canal in. And up until the 1920s, you couldn't build out here. The land was too low, so they sandbagged the perimeter and backfilled it. Made a 12-acre island, today 11 homes. And these are definitely some of the more expensive properties in Winter Park. So it's called the Isle of Sicily. They thought wealthy northerners would, and they want to build their winter homes here, and it looked like a park, so they called it Winter Park, and of course the train would get them here. And so they developed 600 acres right around the shores of these lakes for homes, which worked out great. And of course, well, Rollins College was started just 4 years later, so we'll talk about that a lot. The year after that, 1886, the largest hotel in the state at the time was built on Lake Osceola. Whenever that was, called the Seminole Hotels. So that also made Winter Park really famous as a resort town. Lots of famous customers, U.S. presidents included, stayed in the Seminole. But it burned down in 1902, so I was only here 16 years. But definitely, in my opinion, the Seminole Hotel, the Rollins College, and the train would be the big factors kind of creating Winter Park. shortly. Whoopsie. I'm going to show you the house over here that used to belong to Fred Rogers' parents. Do you all remember Mr. Rogers? So I don't know if you all knew that he was Rollins College's favorite graduate. He got a music degree in 1951. Fred grew up outside of Pittsburgh. The town's somewhat well known because Arnold Palmer grew up there at the same time. It's called Latrobe, Pennsylvania. And he was a bright guy. His first year of college, he went to Dartmouth. So, but only for a year. So he transferred to Rollins. And when he did, he brought his piano down here, which he wanted to put in his dorm room. Rollins wouldn't let him do it. So his parents bought that red brick house with all the ivy right there and put the piano inside there for him. So now you know what beautiful neighborhood he was talking about all those years. And they always honor him. They love him. And right now, something a little special. About a couple of years ago, they commissioned a $250,000 statue to be made of Fred, which they finished, but they haven't put it up yet. But I went by where they're putting it up this morning. It's going to be really a great setting. And so probably in a month or so, there'll be a statue of Fred on that camp. I mentioned that two of our museums are on the water. This is one of them right in front of us. If you look closer, you see a lot of sculptings and also, of course, that yellow house. So that one is the Alvin Pelagic Museum. And he was a world-renowned sculptor. He retired to Winter Park in 1950 and lived in the house with his wife. When he passed away, she left the house and gardens as a shrine and a museum to him. Great museum and pretty here, so they hold a lot of events on that lawn. In my opinion, the most important event they ever had was my daughter's wedding, which I'm still paying for. And this gray and white house just to the left of it, you can see a couple sculptings on that lawn because it's also on the museum's property. That's the one I told you they cut in half and float across the lake. So that's the Capon house there. And although you can't see much of it, behind that big cypress, there's a more modest dark brown house. That one originally was a retreat for the Walgreens drugstores. And of course, the irony is, as soon as they built it, CVS built a much bigger house right next to it. No, they did. I love you guys. Sometimes I get nothing on that. Honestly, I'm keeping you all. You're definitely part of my new favorite people. Yeah, that would be your fake news or alternative for with the Walgreens Park Street. The canal we're coming into is the Fern Canal, which also has a lot of bamboo. You'll see the largest type as we get over on the right. I don't think I mentioned this. All the stuff that hangs from the trees is called Spanish moss. It's actually neither Spanish nor moss, so go figure. It's an air plant, technically an epiphyte, and they used it for a lot of things in the early 1900s. Used to stuff mattresses with it, bring up pretty quickly. It's full of bugs, so that's where the expression "don't let the bed bugs bite" first started. Also, quite a bit of rain lately. People always ask if it floods here. It doesn't, because there's a dam and a creek past Lake Maitland. That's the northernmost lake, and the water flows north here. The dam is set to keep the lakes from flooding. This was Rollins Music Conservatory, this the full part, until they sold it in 1976. So it's been a house ever since then. That house and the next three homes we pass, all four of these sit on Lake Mizell and Lake Virginia. So these guys get a sunrise on Mizell and they get the sunset here on Virginia. The school was started in 1885. Rollins is the first private college in Florida. And, today a lot of people feel that it's the best liberal arts school in the South. And when they started, there were 60 students and it cost $100 a year to go here. I know that's changed a little bit. With room and board today, Rollins is tied with the University of Miami. Those would be the two most expensive schools in Florida right now. So right at $68,000 a year now.
Hi guys, it's Tracy
And David.
from Trixie's Travels, and we wanted to share with you guys today what we did down in Winter Park, Florida. We actually took a scenic boat ride down in the Lake Osceola.
Lake Osceola, Lake Virginia, and Lake Maitland.
And it was so scenic and so beautiful. It took us about an hour, and it was well worth the trip. It's about 20 minutes from Disney.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes away from Bill Frederick City Park on Turkey Lake, and I found it quite interesting. As far as the tour of the lakes, I found it very informative. A lot of history here.
The lake is Rollins College is on the lake.
It's on Lake Virginia.
Lake Virginia. So it was beautiful to see the campus. Beautiful to hear about the college. You know, beautiful to see the homes that are out there that are multi-million-dollar homes. And we had a great tour guide, so it was a wonderful trip.
I mean, it's $16 a head. So
$16 a person for an hour trip.
For an hour trip, but it was very, very nice, you know, considering that we've never really took the time to explore the Orlando area. So I have to say I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, nice not having to feel like you're, you know, in the rat race of running around the parks. Obviously, we love Disney. We've been coming here since we were kids. This is where we came for our honeymoon. So it means a lot to us. But it was just kind of one of those weekends where we just kind of wanted to take it a little bit slower. So we found that boat ride, and it's well worth it. So it was Scenic Boat Tours in Winter Park, Florida. We definitely think you should give it a try.
Yep, definitely. So I highly recommend it.
See you guys in the next adventures.
See ya.